This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation, the Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation.
Show.
Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at _Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, if you're out there tonight, whatever platform you're on, please like and subscribe. And you notice tonight, if you check in usually on Tuesdays, I've got my partner, Stephen LaMonica. Today was his birthday, and so he went out to supper with his wife. So I'm flying solo this evening, so we're going to see how this goes. Tonight, let me start off by saying, if you're out there and you're suffering from substance abuse or alcoholism, you picked the right night to come to the show, because tonight we have Mr. Ryan Penley. I read his story, and it is a success story, but it's also a comeback story. He was a bartender in Las Vegas, and from there he went down the road to alcoholism, but he's come back. And tonight he is going to come on our show, and he is going to tell us about his comeback, how he climbed up from rock bottom, and, hopefully it will offer some inspiration to you folks out there if you're having problems. So without any further ado, let's bring on Mr. Ryan Penley. Good evening,
How's
Ryan.
it going? Hey, I'm really excited to be here, man. It was quite the welcome. I do appreciate it. Yeah. So, I think this is a noble cause, and this show looks fantastic, man. I gotta say, it looks super well done. I'm really proud to be here.
Well, hey, thank you for being here. Hey, I gave about 5 cents worth of your bio to everybody. Why don't you fill in the other 95 cents for us?
Yeah, so you are correct. I was a bartender in Las Vegas, and I got myself into some trouble. I definitely, it started off as just a way to gain some confidence and talk to some girls at bars, and it was almost like it snuck up on me. But when it did, addiction and alcoholism took a hold of my life, and it's a sneaky assailant, and it'll grab a hold of you. And before you know it, you look around, and it's undeniable how catastrophic your life can become. And it starts off as your best friend, and then next thing you know, your life is in shambles. But Las Vegas, I went there. It's basically ground zero for all partying on the planet, right? It's the epicenter of all drugs and alcohol that exists, right? If you want to party and do it that way, then I was in the place to be. And yes, it ended up putting my body into jeopardy. I ended up becoming diabetic. I went to a diabetic coma for 7 days.
Ooh.
I got back to Florida, and by the time I had gotten back to Florida, I wasn't done hitting rock bottom quite yet, So in order to make sure I hit that stone floor, I was homeless. I was jobless. I was wanted in 3 states. So I was simultaneously wanted in Nevada, Colorado, and Florida. And my mother, she's still struggling with drugs and alcohol. Her and I were not a good fit. We don't carry on a relationship any longer, but she had sent me to jail, accused me of trying to cut her head off, and things got pretty nasty, man. Jake, I could say undeniably it was wholeheartedly the rock bottom. I made sure that I got there. Yeah.
Well, I guess once there's no way but up when you get there. Am I right?
Yeah, that is. I mean, if there's a silver lining, that's it, right? If there's a silver lining, I had made it to the bottom. I was done. I was ready to check out, and the Lord kept me around. And many people would say that that was for a reason. And so I think that reason is and I think this goes for anybody, as people, as humans. I think if we solve hard problems out here, right? If we have if we found some traction, if we've figured out a few solutions, then I think it's our duty to reach out and help people in similar circumstances. And so I think that, looking back, that's what I have taken away from the journey, right? And I get asked this often. I get asked like, hey, well, what do you regret about it? And to be honest with you, I don't regret much. I mean, of course, there's some of the standard answers, right? I'd like to have my time back, and maybe some things that was said, or maybe some things that wasn't said. There's some things that I didn't get to say because of the circumstances. But I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for all of that, right? If it wasn't for all of those situations and where these substances, these vices, these addictions, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here talking to you, and I wouldn't have a testimony to go with that test.
Yes. Yeah. You definitely wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. So you were wanted in 3 states.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about anything, I mean, if you,
yeah. Well, so my mother accused me of attempted murder here in Florida, and now there wasn't much legitimacy there because she's not well either, right? So I did the right thing here and it showed up, but the drug possession, driving under the influence, all of these different things kind of stacked up on me in the other states, and I was like, I'm just gonna run. And so I did, and it got a little hairy there. Actually, I had some buddies that got pulled over in Colorado. Like, I mean, I want to say I was in Florida. They got pulled over in Colorado, and the cops were looking for me. They've had everybody get out, and they're like, Ryan Penley, is that right? Are you Ryan Penley? And they're like, no, man, he's like not here. He's in Florida. And they're like, you sure? And then they just let him go. It was, but they all called me like, hey, man, we just got drug out of the car because of you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I should go back and make things right. So eventually I did, and usually in circumstances like that, it's just time and money. I kind of did a tour around the country, just like saying sorry and paying fines, right? Like that's what had to happen.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to, it comes time, you got to pay the piper. And, I'm glad you done that. And I'm glad that you're not on anybody's radar anymore. That's
no, sir. Yeah, no, sir. And it took some time, man. It's not as if they just give you a number and you pay it and then you just write it. It's not quite that easy. So, but these days things are looking up, so I'm glad I did. Well,
yeah. It's probably a good thing that you did, because, we could be talking to you from behind bars.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of grew up with a little bit of substance abuse in the house. It wasn't bad, real bad, but I know that there were times that, and other people I know, just to get started in the morning, to feel normal. What did it take you to feel normal?
Yeah. Well, that's an excellent question, Jake. That's an excellent question. And I mean, so when I was doing narcotic pills, I would, when I say these numbers, like it means something to people that have been there, but like I would snort 5 oxycodones in the morning just to be able to function. Right. That was my breakfast. And then I would continue throughout the day, consuming about 14 total a day. And then, so now if you want to fast forward many years later, when it was just alcohol, because drugs get expensive. And,
yes.
Yeah. And forgive me if maybe if your listeners think that I take this lightly. I suppose like laughter is like a coping mechanism. It's not a light subject, but I feel like I've had to kind of, laugh some things off. It's just the way that I guess I kind of deal with it. But so anyways, if you fast forward later to my dietary restrictions as just an alcoholic when I didn't have enough money for drugs. It was about a liter of vodka a day, but the day didn't. I wasn't able to. I was shaking too bad to really, speak, walk, talk, anything. So it was usually I had to get probably at least 2 ounces of vodka just to start right now. And the first one wouldn't go down. The first anything that hit my body would come right back out. And I knew that. So it was like I had to fight through. And you got to imagine a person that's that sick, a person that's in that circumstance. Like I'm begging the Lord, I'm begging everybody, or anything to just let it hit my body so I can at least feel normal enough to just like eat food and to get around. And so, I mean, when things are that bad and you're consuming copious amounts of substances like that, biologically your body is now dependent. And some people may not know this, but alcohol is one of the few drugs or substances that through withdrawals you can die. You can 100% die. And some people don't know that. You cannot die from marijuana withdrawals. You cannot die from cocaine withdrawals. You cannot die from opiate withdrawals. I mean, it's horrible to go through those periods if you're coming off of these substances, but alcohol will kill you. Yeah. And so it's scary, man. It's scary when you're in there and you're thinking. I've even said it to family members, and there was truth, a little bit of truth in there. I'd say, if I don't drink, there's a chance I'm going to have a seizure, and there's a chance I'm going to die. And that's actually a true statement, now I was using it to get more alcohol. I was using it, to manipulate them. But there is truth in that, because it is one of those things that can kill you when you come off of it and you've been drinking that much.
Yes, it can. We got a question from text. Are you originally from Vegas? And if not, what got you there besides meeting tons of people?
Yeah, I was 21 when I moved out there. I'm originally from Florida, and when I had gotten out there, and I was bartending. So, like I had said, this all started because I had a couple of alcoholic drinks and I had enough confidence to go up and talk to girls. That's what happened, and at the time there was no repercussions. So I thought, this is the greatest thing I've ever discovered. This is going to be great. So I took it to that top level. And if you're going to do that type of behavior, Las Vegas is the place to be. And so when I went out there and I was bartending, it wasn't all bad too. It wasn't all bad. I don't want, there were some really, really great moments and some really great memories and experiences. But slowly those experiences, the great experiences started falling and the addiction started getting stronger. So it flipped on me, but it wasn't instantaneous. It was over time before I knew I had no control.
Okay. What was your rock bottom moment? When was the time that you said to yourself, okay, enough, I got to get out of this? Right.
I've tried to answer this several times. And I can't necessarily give you an instance. However, they'll say, you'll hear people say oh, well, admitting you got a problem is the first step. Well, there was no more denial. That was done. It was very clear to me and everybody else, I was in trouble. Doctors had told me, the authorities had told me, my family had told me. There wasn't anybody who, including myself. So it was when you do that and everything is falling apart on you. When everything's falling apart on you, you got a choice. You can either give up or you can get to work. And so I tried to give up. I know that you're thinking maybe in this story, I was going to say this heroic thing and say, oh, and then I got to work. No, I tried to give up, but God kept me around. So when I didn't perish, I thought, well, okay, then it's just option B, then get to work. And so then that's what I did. And it was a long, hard long, hard path, but that was the only door that was open.
I understand. I want to bring up anybody, if you have any questions, just text them in on whatever format you're on. Anybody got any questions for Ryan? I've got a few more here that I've got. Who do you place I'm gonna talk once more about your addiction, and then we're gonna move into your recovery, your comeback. Who was to blame for that?
Oh, for my addiction?
Yes.
Now, so the answer to that maybe could be two prongs, right? A gift that I held on to throughout the whole thing is I never really blamed anyone. I didn't blame my mom and my father for being alcoholics and drug addicts. Because at the end of the day, I picked up the bottle. At the end of the day, like for instance, with the pills, I was prescribed enough pills by a doctor to kill a rhinoceros. I mean, he just gave them to me and basically free. And so I could say it was his fault. I could say, oh, well, he did it to me. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, the biggest addict in the room is the last one to get better. I'm sorry, the biggest victim. The biggest victim in the room is the last one to get better. So the longer what I never did is I never put the blame on anyone, and that actually propelled the progress. And without it, there would be no progress, because as long as I would have been blaming somebody else, I would get nowhere, right? So now that's one prong. The second prong is that I tell myself this narrative, and I actually use it to because I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. So I pictured myself metaphorically being in a full-on fist fight with the devil himself. And I feel like that's what I had gone through. And I used that narrative to give me strength. And so, so, I mean, you get one answer there is a little more pragmatic, and then the other one is a little more faith-based, if you will.
Well, I like that you brought the faith-based into it. I'm a firm believer that if I can't do it myself, I can't do it myself. I know a guy that can help me get through it.
That's true.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk. Okay, you've hit bottom. You've decided, hey, I have to make a change. So what'd you start? Did you become a friend of Bill's, or did you? Was it 12-step program, or did you just kind of do this on your own, or who helped you with this? So
here in Florida, they have this thing called a Baker Act. And so if you're a threat to yourself or others, right? So a threat, like I hadn't committed anything wrong, but people were worried that, that I was a liability. And when they Baker Act you are withheld for 72 hours, mm-hmm. but not arrested. You're just basically detained in a mental hospital for 72 hours. It's really it's an awful process, right? So anyways, I had done this 12, 13 times, something like that. It was several times I've been there. I was just getting sick and tired of this. And I had begged for help and resources, wasn't getting it. So what did I do? I reached out to my cousin. Now, my cousin, I had already burned her. I had already lied to her. I had already embarrassed her in front of her husband. I had already tried to live with her once before. And here I am again. But this time, I had a plan. And I put together, first of all, accountability. And I was voluntarily holding myself accountable. And mm-hmm. So what I did is I presented to her, I said, listen, here's a breathalyzer. And I'm going to give it to you. You can breathalyze me every day. And any day that I don't pass, that's it. I'm out. And that's it. That's what you have right here. This is your insurance. And then some other things we put in there. I was going to go see a therapist once a week. Basically, and AA was in there too. That was part of the deal. It didn't pan out. AA didn't really pan out for me. It wasn't. I respect the program. I've actually used elements of that in my process mm-hmm. and what I did, but I didn't take to the meetings. And so nonetheless, it was all accountability, but it was well thought out accountability. It wasn't like a bunch of promises, because my promises were gone. There wasn't anybody saying, oh no, he really means it. Like nobody was saying this about me, so I had to come with something with more clout, I had to have something behind it. And that's what I did. I came up with a plan to hold myself accountable.
Good deal. We have a question from About Face Radio from Allison B. It says, first off, you guys doing amazing things for this world. Thank you, Ryan. I stumbled across your podcast, The Next Fix. You're doing a great service. What led you to start your show, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I gotta say that I kind of got the bug. I wrote the book, and I was like, oh, I gotta go talk about this book. And so I started jumping on podcasts and delightful conversations like the one we're having right now. And I thought to myself, I guess I got a mouth on me. And I started thinking, maybe I should use it. So I have a great time sharing things and talking to great people. So with the show, I thought to myself, this just makes sense. And I feel wholeheartedly that your gift is the thing you do the best with the least amount of effort. And so being on camera and telling my story and running my mouth a little bit, I guess it's just something I think I can lean into. So that led me to starting the show. But I do appreciate you checking the show out. And I got to say that is flattering and super exciting. I got to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Again, if there's any more questions, please go ahead and get them in here. Here's one that just popped up. Many of those who fight addiction look for something else to fill the void. What did you do to replace your addiction?
That's a killer topic that I've been I've been bringing up on these different conversations and these different shows, is that and this came about after my book. I started thinking, addicts, they're always like, oh, moderation is the key. I can't handle moderation. It is outside of my grasp. And so I started thinking, I think addicts make the world go round. And let me explain what I'm saying here. I think that we hold addicts on these pedestals for accomplishments and what they do. And it's just because they're addicted to things that aren't substance abuse and self-destruction. Like, for instance, I think Mother Teresa was addicted to peace, right? I think Steve Jobs was addicted to innovation. I think, Elon Musk is addicted to furthering the human race or whatever. And now these are all giving very noble causes. These are just some examples. And however, so the answer in a pragmatic way for people that are normal people and don't run $1 trillion companies is get addicted to something that you find interesting. Early, when I was in the trenches, like when I was still one day at a time, which is very much the truth, it was exercise. I found that I had a lot of energy, and I'm like, well, I gotta put it into something. And I found that, when you're in recovery, sleeping is tough, calming your mind down is tough. And I quickly found that physical exercise helps. It helps. So I kind of dumped a lot of my energy into that. And now you'll hear a lot of professionals say like, oh, well, now you're just addicted to that. And I'll tell them, well, it's a hell of a lot better than being addicted to meth or heroin. So
preach it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So how long have you been sober?
Oh, it's 5 years on the 31st of March here that we just passed those 5 years. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's quite a feat.
Yeah. Thank you.
And, for everybody listening out there, if you're struggling, there is hope out there. You can do this. You can do this. Ryan, you're doing great things. I want to encourage everybody to check out The Next Fix, Ryan's podcast. We'll throw it up here. And you can reach him at ryanpenley.org. And and it's all right for people to contact you through your website, right?
Yeah. There's an author contact page. It's basically an email to me. So yeah, I encourage people to do it. Now, but I'll also say, I'm not a doctor. There's been some people like they kind of misunderstand. Think maybe I'm like able to help on that level. I'm a guy, and I'll respond and do what I can. Yeah.
All right. Before we get on with the rest of things here, my producer's been putting up on we're honoring police officers that died in the line of duty this week, and there seems to be a few of them, and would just like our thoughts and prayers go out to their families, and rest easy. But before we get off of here, I need you to tell our audience 3 things for your success. What are the 3 main things that contributed to your success and your comeback?
Right. Well, I think first and foremost is, you have to believe in something. Mm-hmm. If you don't, like I said, I'm a Christian, but I dabble in philosophy, and I picked up some things that I could get behind. Stoicism and Christianity and the Bible, they're big for me. And if you don't have something if you don't have a higher power to look toward to or look up to and give power to, then your life is probably going to hurt. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great place to start. But in addition to that, the second thing would be humility. You've got to understand that, if you don't realize where you're at truly, then mm-hmm. you're never going to get anywhere else. Right. It's almost like if you have a map, you've got to find out where, you are here. You got to figure that out for yourself. And that's usually, not always, but I would say most cases, that's a humbling experience. Now, that is also conjoined with the third thing. The third thing is, if you're going to start a journey, it usually starts with a small step, right? Mm-hmm. If you're struggling to get something done or accomplish something or change something in your life, my best advice is to start small and humbly, right? And if you start there, those wins will grow exponentially. I can give you my word. I give you my word that if you just start getting some wins under your belt, and no matter how small they are, it's linked in with humility. Find out where you're at and start there, right? Start accurately and start small. But before you know it, those small steps, they turn into massive strides. And then, before you know it, you're running a full-blown race.
All right. Well, that sounds like good words to live by. Got another question from Christopher. Reading This Naked Mind opened my eyes to the true impact of alcohol on my time, money, and energy, making me realize I didn't really like it. Since then, my life has transformed. I'm not 100% sober, but I can count on both hands the number of times I've had a drink this year. My journey to less drinking has truly changed my life for the better. Hey, that's awesome, Christopher.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And thank you. Thank you for writing that in. Well, Ryan, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for spending part of your evening with us. And, let's hope we touched a lot of people out there. But if we didn't, maybe we got just one. And hopefully they'll email you and tell you thank you that this kind of opened up their eyes. And I really
that'd be fantastic.
The Misfit Nation appreciate you coming on tonight. Again, to everybody out there, like and subscribe. Check out Ryan's website and check out his podcast, The Next Fix. And until next Tuesday, everybody have a good week. We'll see you.
Thank you.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.